Bullies try to lift new girl's dress. Big mistake. She was a brutal fighter. They messed with the wrong girl, and now both she and her brother make them pay. Sophia Morales gripped her messenger bag tightly as she navigated Westfield Academy's bustling corridors. At 16, she stood barely 5 and 3, with long black hair braided down her back. Her modest cardigan hung loosely over her petite frame, and wire-rimmed glasses gave her a studious appearance. Sophia had been at Westfield for 2 months since relocating from Barcelona, and her reserved demeanor with a subtle Spanish accent made her a prime target. "Just keep moving and survive the day," she whispered to herself in Spanish. Sophia was naturally introverted, preferring literature to socializing, and adjusting to this prestigious American prep school felt overwhelming. She missed Barcelona, where she had close companions and encouraging professors. Here, she felt like a ghost, except when she desperately wished she could actually disappear. Tyler Blackwood dominated the sophomore class with ruthless authority. Tall and athletic at 17, he had platinum blonde hair and an arrogant stride from being captain of the lacrosse team. His posse included Ryan Fletcher, a wiry redhead with a vicious temperament, and Connor Blake, whose muscular build and constant scowl reflected his perpetual rage. They had spotted Sophia immediately and marked her as easy prey. "Well, well, look who's trying to slip past unnoticed," Tyler's voice echoed near the trophy cases. Sophia's heart sank. She quickened her steps toward AP Literature, but Ryan stepped into her path. "Where are you rushing off to, little sparrow?" Tyler had coined that nickname after hearing her soft voice during roll call. The moniker had spread, and now most of the school used it. "Didn't your mama teach you proper manners?" Sophia's cheeks burned crimson. "I apologize. I'm simply attempting to reach class punctually." Her accent made the words sound fragile. "She's apologizing, guys," Connor snorted, mimicking her pronunciation. "So courteous. What did they teach you in Spain, Sparrow? How to be a pushover?" Students flowed past, most avoiding eye contact. Sophia had learned that Westfield operated on a rigid social pyramid, and nobody wanted Tyler's wrath by defending someone at the bottom. Even Mr. Henderson, supervising the halls, had conveniently vanished when he spotted the brewing confrontation. "Why don't I just inform Marcus?" Sophia thought. Her older brother was 20 and worked demolition after graduating early. She had watched him haul concrete blocks that required 3 other workers to lift. His arms were sculpted with muscle from years of intensive labor, but Marcus already pulled overtime shifts to cover her tuition and their father's rehabilitation costs. She couldn't burden him with her troubles. "Please leave me be," Sophia murmured, attempting to sidestep Ryan. "Please leave me be," Ryan mocked in a high-pitched tone, causing nearby students to chuckle. "What's the magic phrase, Sparrow?" Sophia's hands shook as she clutched her bag straps. She had practiced Krav Maga back in Barcelona, but her instructor stressed that violence was always the final option. Besides, these boys were significantly larger, and causing a disturbance might result in suspension. Her family couldn't afford complications that could threaten her education. Tyler moved closer, and Sophia caught the scent of his aggressive cologne mixed with the energy drinks he constantly consumed. "I think Sparrow needs to learn some respect. What do you say, boys?" Before Sophia could react, Tyler seized her messenger bag and ripped it from her shoulders. Contents scattered across the hallway floor. Textbooks, notebooks, pens, and meticulously completed literature assignments spread everywhere. Students trampled over her belongings, and Sophia felt tears sting her eyes, watching a week's work get destroyed. "Oops," Tyler said with mock remorse. "Clumsy me." Sophia dropped to her knees, frantically collecting papers, many now torn or marked with shoe prints. The 5-minute warning bell chimed, meaning she'd be tardy even if she sprinted. Ms. Rodriguez had already cautioned that lateness meant detention. "This is pathetic," Connor remarked as Sophia crawled, gathering scattered materials. "Look at her scrambling around like a little sparrow. That's why the name suits her perfectly. Ryan kicked one notebook further down the corridor, and Sophia had to chase it. By the time she collected everything, the hallway was nearly deserted and the final bell was ringing. She arrived at literature 4 minutes late, face flushed and hair disheveled, earning Ms. Rodriguez's disapproving glare and classmates' snickers. Just 7 more months, Sophia told herself, sliding into her back row seat. 7 more months until graduation, then university somewhere far from here. This routine persisted for weeks. Tyler's gang would find her in the dining hall, making loud remarks about her appearance while she ate in solitude. They'd accidentally collide with her in corridors, causing dropped books. In physical education, they ensured she was selected last for teams. Then Ryan would hurl dodgeballs at her head during games, claiming accidents when Coach Martinez wasn't watching. Sophia developed survival tactics. She memorized their schedules and used alternative routes between classes. She began eating lunch in the library instead of the dining hall. She even relocated her locker to the opposite wing of school. But Westfield wasn't that vast, and they always discovered her eventually. The worst incident occurred on a stormy Tuesday in the courtyard outside the main building. Sophia was walking to her next class when Tyler and his friends encircled her near the bicycle racks. The courtyard was mostly vacant due to weather, with only a few students hurrying between buildings with heads lowered against rain. "Hey, Sparrow," Tyler called out, his voice carrying that familiar cruel undertone. "We've been thinking about you." Sophia's pulse accelerated. She hugged her books closer and searched for escape routes, but they had positioned themselves strategically to block all exits. "Yeah," Ryan added, stepping nearer. "We've been wondering something. You're always so quiet, so frightened. What are you concealing under all those baggy clothes?" Sophia's eyes widened in alarm as she realized their intention. "Please just leave me alone. I haven't done anything to you." "That's the issue," Connor said with a malicious grin. "You think you're too refined to speak with us, too good to be social. Maybe we need to help you be more outgoing." Before Sophia could react, Tyler lunged forward and grabbed the hem of her pleated skirt. "Let's see what Sparrow is hiding under here." "No!" Sophia screamed, backing away frantically. "Don't touch me!" Ryan moved to grab her arms, while Tyler tugged at her skirt, attempting to lift it up. Sophia twisted and fought, textbooks scattering on wet pavement as she desperately tried to escape. The humiliation was overwhelming, not just the physical violation, but that other students could witness this happening and were doing nothing to help. "Parade!" Sophia's voice cracked as she continued struggling. "Someone help me!" A few students had gathered to watch, but they stood at a safe distance, some even pulling out phones to record. Sophia felt completely helpless as Tyler's grip on her skirt tightened and Ryan's hands pinned her arms. The rain made everything slippery, and she nearly fell trying to break free. "Come on, Sparrow," Tyler taunted. "Don't be so uptight. We're just trying to be friendly." Sophia's vision blurred with tears of rage and humiliation. These boys thought they could treat her like this because she was small, quiet, because she had no one to protect her. The injustice filled her with fury she had never experienced before. "I said stop!" Sophia's voice rang across the courtyard with such force that Tyler actually paused, surprised by the intensity in her tone. "Ooh, Sparrow has talons," Connor laughed. "This is getting interesting." But Sophia had reached her breaking point. Every day of torment, every humiliation, every moment of feeling powerless crystallized into pure determination. They wanted to see what she was hiding? Fine. They were about to discover exactly who they were messing with. Years of Krav Maga training suddenly flooded back. Her instructor's voice echoed in her mind. "Use your opponent's size against them. Strike fast, strike hard, get away." As Tyler tightened his grip on her skirt, Sophia stopped pulling away and instead stepped closer, catching him off guard. Her knee shot up with lightning speed, connecting squarely with his groin. Tyler's eyes bulged and he doubled over, releasing her skirt as he crumpled to the wet pavement, gasping. Ryan, still holding her arms, had a split second to look confused before Sophia's elbow drove backward into his solar plexus. The air rushed out of his lungs in a sharp wheeze, and his grip loosened. Sophia spun around and her palm struck upward under his nose, not hard enough to break it, but enough to bring tears to his eyes and send him stumbling backward. Connor, seeing his friends writhing on the ground, charged forward with a roar of rage. But Sophia was no longer the frightened girl from moments before. She sidestepped his clumsy rush and swept her leg behind his ankle while pushing his shoulder. Basic physics did the rest. Connor's momentum carried him forward and down, and he crashed face first into a puddle. The entire sequence had taken less than 10 seconds. Tyler was still curled in a ball, Connor was spitting muddy water, and Ryan was holding his nose, blood seeping between his fingers. The watching students stood in stunned silence, phones forgotten in their hands. This quiet Spanish girl had just dismantled 3 of the school's most feared bullies with clinical precision. Sophia stood over them, no longer the trembling victim. Her glasses had been knocked askew, her braid had come loose, and her cardigan was torn, but her dark eyes blazed with controlled fury. "I learned Krav Maga in Barcelona," she said, her accent now sounding strong rather than timid. "It's an Israeli combat system designed to neutralize threats quickly and efficiently." She looked down at Tyler, who was still gasping. "My instructor always said fighting should be the last resort. Congratulations, you just became my last resort." Tyler struggled to sit up, his face pale with pain and shock. You can't. We'll get you expelled." Sophia's laugh was cold. "Really? You want to explain to the administration how 3 big, strong boys got beaten up by 1 small girl while trying to sexually assault her?" She gestured to the students with phones. "I'm sure the footage will be very enlightening." Connor had managed to push himself up from the puddle, his polo shirt now brown with mud. "This isn't over," he snarled. "Yes, it is," a new voice said from behind the crowd. Everyone turned to see Marcus Morales walking across the courtyard. Even soaking wet from the rain, his presence was commanding. He wore dark jeans and a black work shirt that emphasized his powerful build, and his steel-toed boots clicked ominously on the wet pavement as he approached. Marcus took in the scene, his sister standing over 3 boys on the ground, the watching crowd, the phones capturing everything. A slow smile spread across his face. "Sofia," he said in Spanish, "did you finally show them what Papa taught us?" "Sí, hermano," Sofia replied, switching to Spanish as well. "They thought I was weak." Marcus nodded approvingly, then switched back to English for the benefit of the crowd. "I came to check on my little sister since the school called about a disturbance, but it looks like she handled things herself." He looked down at Tyler, who was finally managing to stand up, still hunched over. "You must be the famous Tyler," Marcus continued conversationally, "the boy who's been bothering my sister for months." His voice was calm, but there was something in his tone that made several students take a step backward. "Look, man," Tyler wheezed, "this is between us and your sister. You need to..." "Need to what?" Marcus interrupted. The temperature in the courtyard seemed to drop several degrees. "My sister just defended herself against 3 boys trying to sexually assault her. What exactly do you think I need to do?" Marcus stepped closer to Tyler, and the difference in their builds was immediately apparent. While Tyler was tall for a high school student, Marcus was a full-grown man who spent his days demolishing buildings. His shoulders were broader, his arms were thicker, and there was a quiet intensity in his dark eyes that made Tyler instinctively step backward. "Here's what's going to happen," Marcus said quietly. "You and your friends are going to leave my sister completely alone. You're not going to talk to her, look at her, or even think about her. And if I hear that anyone in this school is giving Sophia trouble, I'll hold all 3 of you personally responsible." "You can't threaten us," Ryan said through his bloodied nose, though his voice lacked conviction. Marcus smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. That wasn't a threat. That was a promise. You see, I work in demolition. I know exactly how much pressure the human body can take before things start to break. He looked at each of the three boys in turn. Would you like a demonstration? All three boys quickly shook their heads. Good, Marcus said. Now, I believe you owe my sister an apology. A public one. Tyler looked around at the crowd of students, many of whom had their phones out recording everything. His reputation as the tough guy was already destroyed. Sophia had seen to that. His former victims were now looking at him with disgust rather than fear. Sophia, Tyler said quietly, not meeting her eyes. I'm sorry for what we did. It was wrong. Louder, Marcus commanded. And look at her when you apologize. Tyler raised his head and looked directly at Sophia. I'm sorry, he said in a voice that carried through the courtyard. What we did was wrong, and it won't happen again. Ryan and Connor followed with their own stammered apologies, their faces red with embarrassment and pain. Sophia felt a surge of satisfaction as she realized that for the first time since starting at Westfield, she was the one with power in this situation. One more thing, Marcus said as he prepared to leave. If I find out that anyone in this school is giving my sister trouble, I'll be back. And next time, I won't be as understanding as I am today. With that, Marcus put his arm around Sophia's shoulders and they walked away together. The crowd of students parted before them, and Sophia heard whispered conversations beginning as they disappeared around the corner. Tyler and his friends slunk away in the opposite direction, their heads down and their earlier swagger completely gone. Word of the courtyard incident spread through Westfield Academy like wildfire. By the end of the day, everyone knew that the quiet Spanish girl had single-handedly defeated three of the school's biggest bullies. The story grew with each telling. Some versions had her using martial arts weapons, others claimed she was a secret agent's daughter. But the truth was impressive enough. Video footage from student phones clearly showed the assault attempt and Sophia's devastating response. The administration, faced with undeniable evidence of sexual assault by three male students against a female student who had defended herself, had little choice but to take action. Tyler, Ryan, and Connor were suspended pending a full investigation. Their parents were called in, lawyers were consulted, and college recruiters who had been interested in Tyler's lacrosse skills suddenly became unreachable. Meanwhile, Sophia found herself transformed overnight from victim to legend. Students who had previously ignored her now approached with something she had never seen before: respect. Sophia, a girl from her chemistry class, said hesitantly, "I'm Isabella. I just wanted to say I'm really sorry about what they did to you, and I'm glad you stood up for yourself like that." More students approached throughout the day, some apologizing for not helping her before, others simply acknowledging her with newfound respect. Sophia realized that she hadn't just protected herself from Tyler and his friends, she had completely changed her status at Westfield Academy. At lunch, instead of eating alone in the library, Sophia sat in the dining hall for the first time in months. Tyler's former table sat empty, the three boys were serving their suspension, and other students were openly discussing what had happened. "Did you see the video?" one senior was saying. "She took down all three of them in like 10 seconds. My older brother knows some Krav Maga," another added. "He says it's brutal. It's what they teach Israeli special forces." When Sophia arrived home that evening, she found Marcus in the kitchen preparing dinner for their father's return from physical therapy. He looked up when she entered, and his expression was proud. "How was the rest of your day, Hermana?" he asked, stirring a pot of soup on the stove. Sophia hugged him tightly, suddenly overwhelmed with gratitude and love for her brother. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for coming when I needed you." Marcus hugged her back, and Sophia could feel the strength in his arms that had made Tyler look like a child. "You didn't need me today," he said. "You handled that situation perfectly. I'm proud of you." "I should have fought back sooner," Sophia said. "I was so afraid of making trouble. Marcus pulled back and looked at her seriously. Sophia, there's a difference between making trouble and defending yourself. What you did today wasn't violence, it was justice. Papa would be proud, Sophia said, thinking of their father, who was slowly recovering from a construction accident that had left him partially paralyzed. Papa is proud, Marcus corrected. I already told him what happened. He wants to know if you remember the other techniques he taught us. As the weeks passed, Sophia's life at Westfield Academy transformed completely. Tyler and his friends kept their distance after returning from suspension, and their own reputations had suffered significantly after word spread about what they had tried to do to her. Other students who had previously ignored Sophia now included her in conversations and group projects. She began eating lunch with Isabella and a small group of girls from her classes. She joined the debate team, where her intelligence and preparation made her a valuable member. Teachers who had barely noticed her before began calling on her more often, recognizing that her quiet nature didn't mean she lacked knowledge or opinions. Tyler's behavior changed too, but not in the way Sophia had expected. Rather than becoming more aggressive or seeking revenge, he seemed genuinely humbled by the experience. Sophia overheard him telling Ryan to leave a younger student alone one day, and she realized that perhaps being defeated by her had taught him something about the consequences of bullying. One afternoon, about a month after the confrontation, Tyler approached Sophia at her locker. She tensed instinctively, her body automatically shifting into a defensive stance. "Sophia," he said quietly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I wanted to talk to you. Alone." Sophia studied his face, looking for signs of the cruel boy who had tormented her, but all she saw was genuine remorse. "What do you want, Tyler?" "I wanted to apologize again," he said. "Really apologize, not just because your brother made me or because I got suspended. What we did to you was horrible, and I've been thinking about it a lot." Sophia was surprised by the sincerity in his voice. "Okay," she said carefully. "I don't expect you to forgive me," Tyler continued, "but I wanted you to know that I understand now how wrong we were. My little sister is starting at Westfield next year, and the thought of someone treating her the way we treated you," he shook his head, "it makes me sick." Sophia felt some of the anger she had been carrying begin to dissolve. "Why did you do it?" she asked. "Why did you pick on me?" Tyler was quiet for a long moment. "Because I could," he said finally. "Because you were small and quiet, and I thought you wouldn't fight back. It made me feel powerful." He met her eyes. "But real power isn't about hurting people who can't defend themselves. You taught me that." Sophia nodded slowly. "Thank you for saying that." Tyler started to walk away, then turned back. "For what it's worth, you're a lot braver than I gave you credit for. It takes courage to keep coming to school every day when people are treating you like that, and what you did in the courtyard," he shook his head in amazement, "I've never seen anything like it." As Sophia watched Tyler walk away, she reflected on how much had changed since that terrible day in the courtyard. She wasn't the same frightened girl who had started at Westfield Academy. Standing up for herself, both through fighting and through Marcus's support, had awakened something inside her, a sense of her own worth and strength. That evening, Sophia sat with Marcus on the small balcony of their apartment, watching the sun set over their neighborhood. Her brother was reading a community college brochure, and Sophia felt warm pride knowing that he was finally pursuing his own dreams again. "Marcus," she said, "do you ever regret not going to college right away because of me and Papa?" Marcus looked up from the brochure and smiled. "Never," he said firmly. "You and Papa are my priority. College will still be there when I'm ready for it." Sophia leaned against her brother's shoulder, feeling safe and protected in a way she hadn't experienced since their father's accident. "I love you," she said simply. "I love you too, Hermana," Marcus replied, wrapping an arm around her. "And I'm proud of you for how you handled everything at school. You're stronger than you know." Sophia smiled, thinking about the martial arts club she was planning to start at Westfield and the new friends she had made. Tyler and his crew were no longer a threat, and she had learned that sometimes standing up for yourself meant both knowing when to fight and when to ask for help from the people who loved you. "Family protects family," she thought, echoing Marcus's words. "That's how it works." The next morning, Sophia walked through the halls of Westfield Academy with her head held high, no longer the frightened sparrow she had once been. She had learned that real strength came not just from being able to fight, but from knowing when to fight and when to seek help from those who could fight for you. As she passed the spot where Tyler had first cornered her, Sophia felt no fear, only gratitude for the brother who had taught her that she was worth protecting, and the knowledge that she would never let anyone make her feel powerless again. The quiet girl from Barcelona had found her voice, and when she spoke, the whole school listened.